Sunday afternoon Spanish for Utah. Thanks to those who download these talks as podcasts from iTunes. We invite your comments, correspondence, and feedback by emails at utahkrishnas@gmail.com. We also have a membership class at our website, utahkrishnas.org. I'd like to thank those who have taken the membership class, become members. Couldn't do what we do without your help and support. Everything is inspired by the teachings of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is the founder and Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Om Aganati Mirandasya Ganagana Salakya Chaksurun Militam Yena Tajmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yada Bhutare Sayam Rupa Karamayam Darati Swaparantikam Nama Om Vishnu Paraya Krishna Pastaya Bhutare Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tunama Namaste Sarasati Devi Gauravani Pachari Nevashes Sanyori Paskatades Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'd like to talk to you today about this too shall pass. We all face difficulties that look like they'll never change. Seems like the more we pray, the worse it gets. We don't see any sign of things improving. When that happens, it's easy to get discouraged and to accept that it's just not meant to be. If any of you have done any sailing, you know how a storm can come up suddenly. The sky grows dark, the wind begins to blow, the waves rise and beat against your little tiny boat. Stormy weather is a real problem for small craft on a turbulent sea. Life, I think you'll agree with me, can be like that too. You go along happy with how things are, taking a little rest, letting your guard down, and then wham, bam, slam. Everything changes in a moment. The stormy clouds form. The wind begins to bang against your small boat. Someone gets sick. Someone dies. You get fired from that job you've been in for 20 years. A loved one turns on you and accuses you of something that you'd never even think of doing. Conflict arises. Suddenly, unpredictably, you're in the middle of a storm that you didn't see coming. You don't feel like you can handle it. It doesn't seem fair. It seems like Krishna, if there's a God up there, he took a break or he doesn't care. Life is like that. We only have this little boat of this human form of body, and the vast samsara, the sea of this material world, is so huge, so stormy, and so prone towards turbulence. The boat on which we ride is so precarious, so vulnerable. Life is like that sea, turbulent, unpredictable, stormy at times. What you come up against from time to time may look permanent. It may look insurmountable. Seems like it's going to take years to open that temple, years to get your health back, years to get out of debt. Our message today is, don't be fooled by what you see. The sea is telling you this too shall pass. Krishna is saying to you, brought you here today to deliver you that message. I've heard it said, our present troubles are small. They won't last very long. These troubles will soon be over, but if we endure them with a good attitude, the joy to come will last forever. Can I tell you, soon it's going to be over. Soon you're going to see the breakthrough. Soon your health is going to turn around. Soon you're going to take new ground for the kingdom. Soon you're going to break that addiction. You may not see how this can happen. Everything in your reasoning says that's not possible. You're looking at it in the natural. We serve a supernatural God. For those who are devoted to him, he can make things happen that you couldn't make happen. Instead of thinking of all the reasons why it's not going to work out, how it's going to take forever, our suggestion is to try a different approach. Lord, thank you that this difficulty will soon be over. Thank you, the sickness, the depression, this bottleneck will not last long. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Well, Caru, it's already been a real long time. You know what that means? That means that you're close to your breakthrough. You're on the verge of seeing it turn around. You're about to see freedom, promotion, problems suddenly resolve, dreams come to pass. Not in the sweet by and by, but soon things are going to change. Soon that child is going to get back on course. Soon that door is going to open. Soon the right person is going to show up. Soon you're going to come into overflow. Now you have to do your part and get in agreement with Krishna or God and have a soon mentality. As long as you think, oh, it's never going to happen. If it's going to happen, it's going to take years and years. That's going to stop Krishna or God from working in your life. When you have this soon mentality, you get up each morning with expectancy, knowing that this could be the day that God shows up and shows out in your life in a major way. When is your health going to turn around? I don't know, Caru. The medical report doesn't look good. That's one report. We're giving you another report this afternoon. Soon things are going to change in your favor. When are you coming out of debt? Looks like it's going to take me 112 years to pay everything off. I'm going to be in my next body by then. How about soon you're coming out of debt? Soon you're going to lend and not borrow. How can that happen? I'll tell you. Krishna or God owns it all. He can give you just one touch of his favor. You'll have more than enough. One phone call, one good break, one idea, one contract, and everything can change. Now, your mind is going to tell you all the reasons why it's not going to happen. Your problem's too big. The people against you are too powerful. It's been this way too long. Can I tell you not to believe those lies? Receive this into your spirit. The problem will soon be over. The loneliness will soon be gone. These present troubles have not come to stay. They came to pass. If you're familiar with the Bhagavad Gita, the Song of God, it takes place on a battlefield. The protagonist, Arjuna, whose chariot driver is Krishna, he went through a great difficulty. Arjuna was doing the right thing, honoring Krishna and God, but the bottom fell out. Lost his kingdom, lost his position, lost his influence. Just because we're people of faith, it doesn't mean that we're not going to have difficulties in our life. You can be doing the right thing and still come into trouble. It says rain falls on the just, falls on the unjust. If there's rain on my house, that means there's also rain on the neighbor's house. There's rain on the house across the street. There's rain on the house down the block. The rain doesn't discriminate. We all get wet indiscriminately. Now, don't get discouraged by the difficulties. It's just life. The promise that we have from God is not that trouble won't come, but the promise is that the trouble is not going to last. It's soon going to be over. When you're in difficulties, things are happening that you don't understand. You need to remind yourself it's not permanent. Soon it will resolve. All through the day, you need to keep this in your heart. Krishna, thank you that this trouble is only temporary. It did not come to stay. It came to pass. Thank you that it will soon be over. Arjuna asked Krishna to drive his chariot between the two armies. And then he looked at his opponents, who were his teachers, his friends, his cousin brothers. He couldn't raise his arms. He couldn't shoot arrows at his friends, his teachers, his cousin brothers. He didn't know what to do. It was a breaking point for this championship warrior. He'd fought many battles, but he didn't know whether he could raise a hostile arm to those with whom he had a bodily relationship. He came to the point of practically breaking down. But that same point was a turning point for him also. Krishna or Arjuna had lost his way, become disoriented and confused because of what was happening around him and what was happening to him. He lost sight of Krishna's divinity when he latched on to all the negatives. His doubts overwhelmed him. He lost sight of Krishna's divinity when he listened to his own mind, his own senses, and his own emotions. Now he crossed over to the transcendental side when he surrendered to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Krishna began to instruct him. When he started to hear from the Supreme Lord, he rose above the bodily platform to the level of spirit, from the temporary to the eternal, from darkness to light. Krishna said to Arjuna, Socham nan vasocham sta pragna gatam chavasa say gatasum zagatasum nenum socham pandita. Arjuna, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor the dead. And in the purport, our Guru Prabhupada writes, the Lord took the position of the teacher and chastised the student, calling him indirectly a fool. The Lord said, you're talking like a learned man, but you do not know that one who is learned, which is to say one who knows the difference between the body and the soul, doesn't lament at any stage of the body, neither in the living nor in the dead condition. The body is destined to be vanquished today or tomorrow. Therefore, the body is not as important as the soul. Krishna says one who knows this is actually learned, and for him there's no cause of lamentation regardless of the condition of the material body. So this chastisement of Krishna sort of, so to speak, raised Arjuna from the dead. Krishna is referencing the soul brought Arjuna from the wrong side to the right side, from the material point of view to the spiritual point of view. Krishna worked a great reversal by getting Arjuna's attention centered on the eternal, everlasting, and imperishable soul. Krishna continues, Jayate mriyate vakatacham nayamutpanaboya ajo nijo sasato yamparano nahanyate hanyamane sirere. For the soul, there's neither birth nor death, nor having once been does he ever cease to be. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, undying, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. Thus Arjuna became restored to health. The moment of his breaking was the moment of his making. Now, Krishna or God won't let you get into a situation that he can't bring you out of. If the trouble was too much, the sickness too great, the opposition too strong, he wouldn't have allowed it in the first place. It's a test what you're going to do. You're going to get all down and depressed, have a pity party, get discouraged, give up on your dreams, throw in the towel, live defeated, or are you going to believe that God is still on the throne, that God is bigger than whatever trouble it is that you're facing, that it's not going to last long? Can I tell you that what you believe in times of trouble will determine whether you stay in the trouble or whether you come out of it? At the point, Arjuna changed his attitude. Instead of sitting around defeated, he got out of the ashes, looked up to Krishna on the chariot with him and said, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma. He was saying, I know that Krishna is in control. I know that this difficulty cannot stop my destiny. What Krishna or God has proposed for my life will come to pass. What happened there? Arjuna shifted to an attitude of faith. Krishna let us see both sides of Arjuna, if you will, the before and the after. We saw him discouraged, despondent, confused, paralyzed, and then we saw the change, the transformation when he switched over into faith. Krishna showed us this juxtaposition to let us know it's okay. We have feelings. There's nothing wrong with having feelings. It's okay when at times you feel discouraged, like you can't handle it, like it's too much. It's okay, Krishna says, to start there, but it's not okay to finish there. Don't stay in the ashes. Don't stay defeated. At some point, you have to do what Arjuna did and say, I know that Krishna or God did not bring me this far to leave me. I know that this problem is not permanent. Lord, thank you that it will soon be over. Do you know what that does to your enemies? When he hits you with his best shot, but you don't start complaining, you don't stay in the ashes. Instead, you start declaring, soon it's going to turn around. Soon I'm going to get well. Soon my business is going to take off. Soon I'm going to laugh again, love again, lead again, run again. When you live with this soon mentality, all the forces of darkness cannot take you out. Initially, Arjuna's situation looked permanent, looked like he'd seen his best days. But Krishna not only turned it around, Arjuna came out of his troubles with twice what he had before. The Mahabharata says he had twice the cattle, twice the land, twice the influence, twice the wealth, twice the kingdom that he originally lost. Krishna never brings you out the same. If you stay in faith and keep a good attitude during the troubles, he brings you out twice as better than you were before, and he makes the enemy pay for the trouble that they brought onto you. When we hear about the suffering of Arjuna and all that he went through, seems like his whole life was full of suffering. The entire Mahabharata, which is 10 times longer than the Iliad and the Odyssey combined, is all about the suffering of Arjuna and his brothers against the plots to bring them down of their enemies. And yet, even during the struggles, even prior to their triumphal outcome, even before Krishna gave the Pandavas their final victory, you know what? They enjoyed the troubles. Kunti Dev says to Krishna, Vipada Shantu Shashat Tata Tata Jagat Bhavato Darshanam Syat Napuna Bhava Darshanam. She says to Krishna, I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again, so that we could see you, our rescuer, our savior, again and again. For seeing you means that we will no longer see repeated birth and death. Those of you who may be fathers, remember the first time you threw your child up in the air? The child was terrified. But then when you caught them in your strong, confident arms, you thought, well, maybe this isn't so bad. Then you threw them up again. And then the child became more and more positive about the experience. And by the third or fourth time, the child is laughing, giggling, and saying, again, do it again, Dad. Devotees, they love being in difficulties because when they're in difficulties, they're seeing the Supreme Personality of God. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. And ultimately, God consciousness or Krishna consciousness is not about winning or losing. It's about depending on the Lord in all circumstance. It just so happens, would you agree with me, that we're in trouble. When we're in trouble, we tend to lean on Him more. And how we cry out for Him in times of difficulty, that's going to determine how we pass the test and when the troubles resolve. What you think is going to take a long time to resolve, like with Arjuna, if you stay in faith, it's going to happen sooner than you think. The trouble looks permanent, but Krishna is saying to you today, this too shall pass. The whole Mahabharata war took only 18 days. In 18 days, Krishna took the Pandavas from the bottom to the top, from the back to the front, from the pit to the palace. Similarly, if you keep the Lord first place in your life, you too are about to see His hand of healing, of restoration, of breakthroughs, divine connections, and promotions. Not by your might, not by your efforts or your power, but by the power of Almighty God. In 1998, Bobby and I, we launched the construction of this $1.3 million temple in Spanish Fort. We had $12,000 in the bank. After we had announced the construction of the temple, there were articles in Daily Universe, Deseret News, and the Salt Lake Tribune, Three things happened in rapid succession. The storm came up, the wind blew, and the rain fell on our little boat. 1, she was diagnosed with stage 4 melanoma and given a year to live. 2, a third of that $12,000 that we'd saved up was stolen by someone whom she entrusted with her debit card. 3, 50 of the neighbors submitted a petition to the Utah County Zoning Board protesting the temple and calling it an eyesore. It was tempting for us to get worried, depressed, disappointed, think it's never going to happen. But in all of that, can I tell you, I could still hear the promise, the still small voice deep down in my heart saying, Caru, trust me, this problem is only temporary. This too shall pass. I could have said, Lord, are you kidding? We're going backwards, not forwards. The harder we try, the more difficult it gets. At this rate, it's going to take forever. Do you see the battle taking place here in your mind? Don't accept the lies that it's permanent. Don't accept the lie that it's going to take a long time. You have to turn it around. Father, thank you that this will resolve sooner than it looks. 3 short years later, 2001, this temple opened in a grand way. The neighbor's petition had been denied. The stolen money had been returned 100 times over. Bai's health was restored, and she's still with us 20 years later, alive and well. Krishna is saying to his devotees, what you're up against is going to resolve much sooner than it looks. That trouble is not going to last long. That addiction is not going to hinder your whole life. The sickness, the depression, the pandemic, the anxiety is not going to stop your destiny. It didn't come to stay, it came to pass. Now, why don't we do our parts and get in agreement with Krishna? You may not see how. The giant looks too big, the sickness too great, the opposition too strong. Here's the key. You're not in it by yourself. The Most High God is fighting for you. He knows how to move people out of the way. He can do what medicine can't do. He can restore what's been stolen. Sooner rather than later, you're going to see the hand of Krishna make things happen that you couldn't make happen, opening doors that no man can shut, turning situations around that looked impossible. It's easy to live with a never mindset. It's never going to work out. It's never going to turn around. I'm never going to get well. The temple will never get built. Can I encourage you to switch over to a soon mentality? I know better than anyone that some things take time. But Krishna promises us that the trouble will soon be over if we keep strong in our devotion to him. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Well, true, what if I believe and it doesn't happen? What if you believe and it does happen? Of course, it probably won't happen if you've already accepted that it's going to drag on for a long time to get well, a long time to accomplish your dream. Why? Because you're limiting what Krishna is willing to do in your life. He did it for the Pandavas in 18 days. He could have done it in 18 seconds. We're asking you to believe for sooner rather than later. Even if it doesn't happen as soon as you'd like, yes, life is a lot about waiting. We acknowledge that. We don't always get what we want when we want it. Nevertheless, I've made up my mind. I'm going to live with a soon mentality. I'm going to keep releasing my faith, keep reminding Krishna what he promised, that this difficulty will soon be over. 18 days of the Kurukshetra war, 18 chapters in the Bhagavad Gita, consisting of 700 verses, Krishna talking Arjuna through his crisis. Over and over and over again, Krishna promises Arjuna that if he keeps God first place, stays in faith, passes the test, and acts upon Krishna's instructions, Arjuna will reap eternal joy, eternal peace, eternal bliss. In the second chapter, Esha Brahma Sita Partha Nevam Prapam Vimushati Stit Bashama Dekalepi Brahma Nivanam Richati. Devotional service, according to my instructions, Krishna says, is the way of the spiritual and godly life, after attaining which a man is not bewildered. Being so situated, even at the hour of death, one can enter into the kingdom of God. Manmana bhavamadati madhyagi mamnam mame vasasi satyam te pratijana priyoshame. Always think of me, Arjuna. Become my devotee. Worship me. Offer your homage to me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this, because you are my very dear friend. And in the purport to this verse, Prabhupada writes, one should always act in such a way that all his daily activities are in connection with Krishna. He should arrange his life in such a way that throughout the 24 hours, he cannot but think of Krishna. And the Lord's promise is that anyone who is in such pure Krishna consciousness will certainly return to the abode of Krishna, where he will be engaged in the association of the Lord face to face. Everyone who follows the path of Arjuna can become a dear friend to Krishna and obtain the same perfection as Arjuna. Tonight, Krishna is assuring you the trouble is temporary. The trouble is not going to last forever. You may be in a difficult time, but that is not how your story ends. That loss is not going to define you. That sickness is not going to ruin the rest of your life. The person that walked away, the bad break, the unfair situation is not going to stop your destiny. Don't be discouraged by trouble. Trouble is not stopping anything that Krishna has for you. Krishna is storing up all the joy, all the good breaks, all the favor, all the resources that have been put on hold because of the temporary trouble. Krishna is going to multiply them and release them suddenly. Krishna has an after this for you. After the trouble, there's going to be great joy in your life. After the loss, after the sickness, after the legal battle, you're going to see new friendships, new opportunities, new growth. You're not losing anything. What belongs to you is still coming. Your latter days will be better than your former days. Your story does not end in defeat. It does not end in failure, injustice, sorrow. Those are temporary seasons. Your story ends in victory. Krishna has already lined up an after this for you. He said that what was meant for your harm, he's turning it to your advantage. Even now, for his devotees, Krishna is turning the trouble, turning the sickness, turning the people that are against you. You're about to step into an advantage, step into favor that Krishna has already lined up for you. No one can stand against our God. No bad break, no sickness, no trouble. Krishna controls millions of universes. He said, weeping may endure for a night, but joy will come in the morning. You might be right now in a night season. Can I encourage you? It's temporary. Joy is on the way. Krishna is going to turn your mourning into dancing, your sorrow into joy. What's holding you back is not going to last much longer. Soon it will be over. Finish up with this story. Once I was flying to India. Everything was going fine, just cruising along above the clouds, very, very smooth. Somewhere over Afghanistan, the plane hit this incredible turbulence, started bouncing around like a roller coaster, up and down. All kinds of objects were flying willy-nilly throughout the cabinet. People were screaming, panicking. For about 10 minutes, it was total chaos. You had to hang on for dear life. Eventually, it all calmed down, thankfully. No one was injured. We went back to smooth flying. The last few hours of our flight were just as peaceful and calm as had the first few hours been. But that's how life is. We're going along fine. Everything's healthy. We're getting good breaks. Everything's good. Days are beautiful. Then we hit some turbulence, unexpected challenge, sickness, pandemic, a layoff, friend betrays you. You didn't see it coming. It's easy to panic, fall apart. Krishna, God, what's happening? Can I encourage you? It was just 10 minutes of turbulence. It's not going to last. Maybe chaotic, maybe stressful, but it's going to calm down. It's going to even out. There's going to be an after this for you. After the turbulence, those who are devoted are going to come out just fine. Now, I've discovered that we're all going to have our 10 minutes of turbulence. Not necessarily at once, but a minute there, a minute here. And when it happens, our mind tells us, it's permanent. I'll never get through this difficulty. It's bumpier than I've ever imagined. But let me reassure you, God is still in control. He's not only flying your plane, he controls the weather. He speaks to the storm, and it calms down. Trouble is going to pass, and the rest of your flight is going to be smooth. Krishna, God has it already figured out. There's already an anointing lined up for you. Your name on it. You just have to stay in faith. Keep being your best. You're going to come into your after this. You'll say, after the petition, we built the temple. After the theft, we came into a fortune. After the sickness, I came out stronger. Those 10 minutes of turbulence, when I experienced them, they felt like 10 hours to me. Great man of faith that I was sweating, holding on for dear life, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I was stressed. But the interesting thing is if I had known that it was only temporary, I probably could have enjoyed the ride. People go to Disneyland and pay a lot of money for an experience just like that. Maybe right now in your life, you're in part of your 10 minutes of turbulence, and it feels like it's going to be 10 years. You're worried, losing sleep, trying to figure it all out. Come back to that place of peace. It's not permanent. Things are going to work out. Krishna is going to get you to where you need to go. You may not see how. The winds are strong. The plane is bouncing around. Can I tell you, Krishna controls the winds. That cancer is not bigger than our God. That petition is not going to stop your purpose. That theft is not going to stop the funds from coming. Krishna's behind the scenes working for his devotees right now. If you're serving the Lord, your time is coming, and it's going to happen sooner than you think. Krishna remembers your faithfulness. He remembers your obedience, the times you did the right thing when it was hard. He remembers every morning you started the day by chanting on your beats. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Your time is coming. Krishna is going to pay you back with interest for all the times of your devotion to him. He's going to cut off the source of what's limiting you, the source of what's holding you back. That sickness is about to cease. The addiction is about to cease. The opposition is about to cease. You may not see anything happening yet, but that doesn't mean things haven't changed. It's just a matter of time before you see what Krishna is up to. Now, keep the right perspective. Trouble is only temporary. It's not going to last as long as it looks. Live with this soon mentality. Not it's way off in the future, but soon things are going to change in my favor. Krishna is breathing on the lives of his devotees. Problems that look permanent are going to disappear. That sickness that you've been dealing with, that pandemic, that child you're so concerned about, the trouble at work and school that's hindering you, by faith, I see the wind of Krishna's spirit causing it to disappear, addictions disappearing, depression disappearing, lack, not having enough disappearing. It's a new day. Krishna is sending his favor, his blessings, his healing on the lives of those who are devoted to him. If you'll do this, I believe that healing is coming, freedom is coming, breakthroughs are coming. Soon you're going to get well. Soon your dreams are going to come to pass. Soon that problem will turn around. Soon you're going to see Krishna show out in this life, and in the next life, you're going to go back to home, back to God. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Thanks for your kind attention. If you have any questions, we'll be glad to circulate around downstairs and solicit any inquiries that you might have. But right now we ask you to stand and stretch. We're going to have an arti ceremony which will be accompanied by some chanting. You can use the space so you can social distance at home. Just kind of spread out a little. You can come up in front if you like. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.